You had a baby in a house when you were 13 years old and we can't find you. By the way, where's the baby buried? I asked that question to her. And she said what happened after she gave birth was they called her mom and they said that she's got to go. I said, how do you know the baby was dead? You're telling me they moved you into a room and they induced labor after you said, I don't want to give up my child.
Hid. Not because I was embarrassed. Not because I didn't want anyone. Yes, we did keep it very private. But it's because it was a moment very sacred. I was growing a human inside of me. My baby. The world that Charlie and I live in is very toxic at times.
Candace Owens went on record saying she's sitting on information that could completely rewrite how the public sees Erika Kirk. She didn't release it. She didn't name it. She just said it exists. And that alone was enough to send the internet into a spiral it hasn't come out of since. Because here's the thing. Up until that moment, the public narrative around Erika had been largely accepted. Tragic loss, grieving wife, sacred pregnancy kept private. A life turned upside down overnight. People were sympathetic. The story felt complete. But once Candace suggested the version everyone accepted might not be the whole version, people went back and started looking closer. And what they found, or thought they found, is what this video is actually about. Before any of the theories, you need to understand one thing about Erika Kirk as a public figure. She has never been someone who kept her life behind closed doors. Major appearances, emotional moments, raw grief, all of it documented and shared openly. She filmed hospital scenes after Charlie's death. She filmed final goodbyes. She let the world witness her devastation in real time. That level of openness became her public identity, which is exactly why one specific absence felt so loud to the people paying attention. There is almost no visible record of Erika being visibly pregnant. In an era where even low-profile influencers document every trimester, every bump update, every candid grocery store moment, there are no event photos showing a visible pregnancy, no airport sightings, no unfiltered angles caught in the background of someone else's post. Nothing from 9 months of what should have been one of the most significant chapters of her life, and on its own, that could mean nothing. Privacy is a valid choice, and plenty of public figures exercise it. But when someone has openly documented nearly every other major chapter of their life, including something as devastating and intimate as death, choosing to keep an entire pregnancy completely invisible is a contrast that is genuinely difficult to explain away. The question that started circulating was simple, and it stuck precisely because it was simple. Why was pregnancy sacred and invisible, but death immediate and public? That single question planted doubt. And once doubt is planted in a story this public, it doesn't stay contained to one detail. Then the ultrasound image surfaced. When it began circulating online, some viewers noticed that the name displayed wasn't Erika Kirk. It showed her maiden name. Administratively, that could mean nothing. Paperwork lag, routine hospital intake timing. But when your entire public identity is built around being Mrs. Kirk, even a small name discrepancy feels magnified when people are already looking for inconsistencies. Then, a podcast clip resurfaced where she referenced her OB as rest in peace. People who had accepted the narrative the first time were now replaying that moment with completely different ears. Small details that once felt forgettable started feeling like pieces of something larger. But the detail that shifted everything from missing photos to genuine timeline suspicion was the question of where Erika actually was the night before Charlie died. Erika stated she was at a hospital with her mother when the shooting happened. That became the accepted version. It felt grounded. A wife receiving medical care, then receiving the worst news of her life. But Candace Owens claimed she couldn't find anyone who confirmed seeing Erika at that hospital at the time she described. No staff accounts. No witnesses coming forward independently. No corroboration outside of Erika's own telling. And then a separate claim surfaced online that she may have been at a hotel or resort the night before. Unverified. No confirmed footage, but specific enough that it didn't disappear the way vague rumors usually do. Here's why location matters so much in this specific story. If the marriage was steady, where she was the night before is just a detail with no weight. But the marriage, according to online chatter that began circulating around the same time, was allegedly not steady at all. Claims surfaced that Charlie had been sleeping on the couch, that he hadn't been wearing his wedding ring in photos taken shortly before his death. That divorce was no longer a distant hypothetical, but an active, present tension that people close to the situation were aware of. None of those details are officially confirmed by anyone on record, But they spread with enough consistency and enough specific detail that they became part of how people were interpreting everything else around the timeline. And then Erika shared what she described as Charlie's final letter. Emotional, affirming, full of love and commitment. For supporters, it was proof that whatever rumors existed, the bond between them was real and intact. For critics, the decision to take something that personal and make it public, knowing it would be analyzed word by word, raised a different question entirely. Not about the letter's content, about the timing and the choice to release it at all. That's when Tyler's name re-entered the conversation. He had originally been part of the backstory as the person who reportedly introduced Erika and Charlie years ago. A mutual connection. A social bridge. Nothing unusual about that. But once the timeline questions began circulating, people started retracing older connections, and Tyler's name kept appearing across multiple phases. Before the marriage, during it, and now again in current speculation. Online forums began suggesting the closeness may have gone beyond friendship at some point. There's no confirmed statement supporting that. But archived photos, shared history, and the specific timing of his name resurfacing created the kind of pattern that internet investigations feed on. Once a name appears in enough key moments, people stop seeing coincidence and start seeing something else. Then Tracy entered the picture. Tracy has reportedly been in Erika's life for over a decade. Vacations, holidays, family events, a level of closeness documented in photos going back years before the marriage. To most people, that's clearly friendship. But when the pregnancy visibility questions combined with the ultrasound name issue and Erika occasionally stumbling over key dates in interviews, a specific theory began forming in group chats and forums. The suggestion was surrogacy. And once surrogacy entered the conversation, Tracy's long-standing closeness became the next dot people tried to connect. The theory evolved quickly from maybe she used a surrogate to something far more extreme involving who the children might biologically belong to. There is no verified proof supporting any version of that claim. But theories at that level don't need proof to spread. They need detail. And there was enough detail in the publicly available history to keep people building, which is what made the DNA whispers so significant when they started. No official report has been released. No verified documentation has surfaced publicly. But certain commentators began hinting that proof exists behind the scenes. Proof that, if revealed, would change the entire story from the ground up. Candace Owens specifically suggested she had access to information she was choosing not to release yet. And that specific framing, I know something, but I'm not saying it yet, is more psychologically powerful than any direct accusation could ever be, because it shifts the burden completely. It's no longer about presenting evidence and letting people evaluate it. It's about defending against the idea that evidence might exist somewhere, in someone's hands, waiting. Whether that framing is fair or not, it's effective. It works because it's unfalsifiable. You can't disprove something that hasn't been shown. And so, every previous inconsistency gets reinterpreted through that lens automatically. The missing photos feel louder, the name on the ultrasound feels heavier, the location question feels more emotionally loaded than it did before. That's the specific mechanics of how a suggestion, with no verified proof attached to it, can restructure an entire public narrative almost overnight. What makes this story different from ordinary celebrity gossip is that none of the central questions have been definitively closed. No statement has fully addressed the pregnancy documentation gap. No independent confirmation of the hospital location has been made public. No one connected to the story has directly responded to the surrogacy theory or the DNA speculation in a way that actually put those questions to rest. And silence, in a situation this layered and this public, doesn't read as dignity or grief or privacy. It reads as space, and speculation fills space immediately and completely. The real question at this point isn't whether every theory circulating online is true. The vast majority of them probably aren't, and most people following this story understand that. The question is, why the specific details that started all of this? The visibility gap, the timeline, the location that night, the name on the ultrasound, haven't been addressed in a way that actually closes them rather than leaving them open. Because until they are, this story doesn't end. It doesn't fade. It just keeps finding new angles, new connections, new details to fold in. And the internet, once it decides a narrative is incomplete, is extraordinarily patient about waiting for the next piece to surface. So tell me, do you think the silence around these questions is deliberately protecting something real? Or do you think this is a case of the internet finding patterns inside grief that were never actually there to begin with? Drop your take below.